Hello, this is Craig Jameson, and I'm coming to you from Sales Results LLC in Boise, Idaho. And today I wanted to review with you really quickly Google Reader. I don't know if you use Reader or not. It's very similar to some other tools that may be available out there. For example, I use Flipboard on my iPad and I love it. Google Reader has been around for quite some time. Certainly, it's not the prettiest application on the planet. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the ugliest, but it's still beautiful to me. I happen to be a sucker for a cool interface, but Google Reader is so incredibly fast and efficient and flexible. You just gotta love it. So let's take a look at it here today. First of all, here's the way my Reader actually looks, and you can see it's quite utilitarian. But if you're not familiar with Reader, basically, what it's used for is if you find a website, for example, that has some really great articles on it, you want to keep up on new articles, you subscribe to get those. And when you subscribe, you probably have a couple of different options. One is to have that article automatically sent to you via email. The other one is to load it into your Google Reader. So looking at my Reader here over on the left-hand side as I scroll down, you can see the various different sites that I subscribe to because I like the articles generally that come from these sites. So now I subscribe to a lot of sites. I get in a lot of articles. I probably get in about 600 articles a day, and certainly having those sent to me via email would not be a good solution for me. So I have them just automatically sent to my Reader. So let's take a look how that works here. First of all, here's how it is when I call it up and it tells me that I have 179 new items in my Reader. And these are items that have been added in since I last looked through and cleared out what was in there before. And so what I do is a few times every day, I'll come in here and basically I'll just kind of skim through and I'll see what articles might be of more interest to me. So, let's just kind of do that and we'll show you a couple other things that you can do here. So let's see here, 6 compelling reasons why you should use Pinterest for marketing. Now, I'm aware of Pinterest. I'm on Pinterest. I haven't really started using it yet because I can't figure out what the hell to do with it. So I can click on this, and in certain cases, what's going to happen here is I will automatically get either the full article. This is dependent on the website, how they've set it. They've got it set to either show me the complete article or they'll show me an excerpt of the article that'll tell me a little bit more about what's going on. So I can go ahead, I can read it, I can scan it, I can do whatever. I do have the option if I wanted to go to the actual site and see it, I could just click on the blue link. But I say, okay, well, that's a pretty good article. Maybe I'd like to do something with it. Well, there's a lot of things that you can do with it, and this is one of the really, really cool things about Reader. First of all, being a Google product, they've already completely integrated Plus One for Google Plus, and they've also integrated sharing on Google Plus. I also have an option to email this article. Now, let me tell you how I use this. I use this a couple of different ways. But one of the really neat things is that sometimes I scan articles and I said, you know what, one of my customers could actually use this information, or maybe it's one of my prospects. Another thing that you can set up with Reader is you can set up Google Alerts. So if you want to set up alerts that are going to look for certain keywords, now those keywords might be important to you, or thinking like a salesperson, those keywords might be important to my customers. It will automatically feed those articles into my Reader also. So I can come in here and I can just easily, it's hooked into my Google account. So I just start typing in the person's address. It's going to come out. I can add a note. I can tell it to send me a copy in addition, and then I can just go ahead and send. And that email, that whole article has now been sent to that individual. Now, I find that pretty cool. But there's other things that you can do with it also. I like to share what I consider to be valuable information via social media, and Google Reader gives me a number of different ways to do that. Using the Send To button over here, these are the options that I've created to allow me to send these. I can send it to SpringPad. SpringPad is very similar to Evernote, and I also have Evernote on here, where I can take articles that I think are really, really good articles that I want to easily have access to, and I can send those to my SpringPad. I can categorize those into folders or tags. You can do exactly the same thing with Evernote. I happen to prefer SpringPad. That would be today. I can send them out to Hootsuite. If you're not using Hootsuite, maybe using TweetDeck, but Hootsuite does give me the ability where I could create a link to this article. I could automatically select that to go out to Twitter, to Facebook, to LinkedIn, any combination of those. I can even set it with Hootsuite. I can even set it to go out now or go out later. I can share it directly to LinkedIn. I could use Print Friendly to actually print out the article or to create a PDF that I could save and email later. There's also a tool called Buffer. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with Buffer, but Buffer is a very cool tool. What it does is, particularly when I go through a lot of articles, if I was to send every one of these articles out to Twitter, it'd be Craig tweets, Craig tweets, Craig tweets. I mean, it just goes on and on, then it almost constitutes spam. What Buffer does is it allows you to select articles, put them into a hopper, so to speak, and then Buffer will send those out on a schedule, but space them out so they're not all one after the other. I can actually access Buffer right here, or I'm a Chrome user. I actually have a extension for Chrome. I think they also make one for Firefox. I can just click on this. It opens up a new window. It's automatically created the title for it. It's created a bit.ly shortened URL. My default is to send this out to Twitter. I could also send it out to Facebook, and I've done that there. And now what it does is it creates that snippet with that logo here. I can tell it to post it now, or I can just add it to my buffer. So what's happened here is now that's gone into the buffer hopper, and then later on, once again, I could have 10 items in that hopper. It's going to space them out, which is very, very cool. So once again, here we could I could go just to Facebook. I could just go to Twitter. You know, very, very cool. The way that's done is actually through the settings. I'll just show you that real quick. You can come over here to Reader Settings. It's in the Send To. It does come pre-programmed where you can just click off if you want to save it to send it to bloggers sometimes, or Facebook is one of the selections. Twitter is another one. I know a lot of people are using Tumblr. I've used StumbleUpon. I don't use it that much. But then you can also create custom sharing devices. And the best way to do that, there's a couple of different ways. I mean, you can get in there and Google it. You can say, hey, where would I find the coding for Google Reader Send To for Hootsuite? And you'll find articles that will have that coding. Same thing for LinkedIn or some of these others here. But another way that you can typically do this is if you have a bookmarklet on your toolbar. For example, LinkedIn comes with a bookmarklet that I can drag to my toolbar, and I have it right here. Well, if you already have those toolbars, bookmarklets up there, if you just go ahead and edit that, or right-click it and edit it, you're going to see the JavaScript code that's actually used that. And what you want to do is you'd want to come in, you'd want to copy that, and then you want to create a new custom link, and you would use that for the JavaScript that it asks for. Then it would be a matter, however, you still need to find the URL that would be for the logo. Of course, you don't really have to have the logo. If you call it LinkedIn or whatever, I mean, you should be good to go. So that's kind of the way that you set up the Send To. So, you know, I'm doing all of this. I'm sharing, I'm sending out emails and everything. I'm doing this all from right directly within Google Reader without having to leave, which is what I love about it. You know, the other thing about Reader is that it's a depository. It's like a reference. It's like a reference library. So for example, I happen to use, and I happen to represent a company called Nimble, which is a CRM product. So I can come in here at any time and I can just type in the keyword, say Nimble CRM, and it's going to get out there and it's going to do a search, and it's going to call up all the articles that are in my reader that meet those keywords. I mean, it's fantastic. You know, you can go back, you can find articles from later, you can go in there and you can, once again, you can see a brief thing about the article. You could share it at that time. You could email it. You could do whatever you want. So, you know, once again, this is my ode to the Google Reader. You know, certainly it's not the most gorgeous application I've ever seen, but it works amazingly well. So thank you very much for sitting in today, and you folks have a great day.